Danilo?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what is your nationality?
I'm Aztec.
Huh?
I'm Aztec.
You're Aztec?
Yeah.
So from
Native.
Native American, right? From Mexico, right?
Mexican.
Yeah, but you say you're Aztec, right? Now, what does the Bible call you?
What does the Bible call me?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Huh?
I'm not sure.
The Bible calls you Issachar. You're Israelite from the tribe of Issachar, right? That's what the Bible says. Look on the sign real quick. You'll see that on the right side, right? That's what they call us today, what our names are, right? They call us Mexican, they call us Aztecs, they call us blacks, they call us niggers, they call us spits, right? But the Bible says that we are the Israelites, right? The Mexicans are from the tribe of Issachar, all right? Now let me ask you, how did the how did the Aztecs get over to this land? Were they always here? How do they explain that we were over here?
I'm not exactly sure. Well, there's different theories. There's different theories. I believe we all came from the same people though.
Okay. But
I'd like to believe that.
Right, but how did we get over to this land? Let's stick with the Mexicans, for example, the Aztecs. How did they get over here? Were they always over here?
Well, I've read different versions, and some of it has been written by the white man or certain governments.
Exactly, that's what the land bridge that came from. Yeah. Remember that white man says that the so-called Native Americans crossed over from Asia or whatever over a land bridge, right? But that's not what happened, right? The white man said that because they want to call you savages, right? They want to say that you have no ability to build ships and sail. That's why they say you came over a land bridge. But it's been proven time and time over again that that's not true, right? But the Bible just says where you guys came from, how you got over to this land. Give me 2 Ezra 13, verse 40. Listen to this.
2 Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea.
So you're not going to hear this in church, right? This subject right here is talking about the 10 tribes of Israel, right? This is the subject matter. Now get verse 41. Read.
Verse 41. But they took this counsel against themselves.
So around between this time period is happening around 541 BC. All right, it's saying that they took counsel among themselves when they were in captivity under the Assyrians, right? And then the Persians, they took counsel among themselves to do what? Read.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
The multitude of the heathen at this time was, what's that sign at with the maps on it? Right here. Multitude of the heathen right now was the Middle East, so-called Middle East today. Right, this is the multitude of the heathen, what we were taken captive of at this time. Read.
The multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
What is that country? That never mankind dwelt. Because remember, at this time, all this area, Africa, Europe, Asia, Middle East, there's all been, it had all population, right? But it said, where never mankind dwelt. But what is that land? Where never mankind dwelt. America, right? Because when they saw Native Americans, they said you were the first ones here. Right, so this is what it's talking about, right? You guys came from over here, right, and went to a land where never mankind dwelt, which was America. That's why you became the first people of this nation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Read that.
Yeah. How you doing, bro? You said your name was what again?
That's good right there.
What you say your name was?
Danilo.
Danilo. All right. I heard you say that you're Aztec, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what that word means?
Aztec derives from the word Aztlan, which is the capital of today, present-day Mexico, where the empire, or the Aztec Empire was built, where the pyramids are at. The pyramids
right. How did they know about pyramids?
Well, that's an interesting question. I believe that the people on the other side of the world, Egypt,
just like the brother was talking about, right? Because they're the Israelites. Aztec derives from Issachar.
That's right.
Did you know that?
Say it again?
Issachar. That's where that word derived from.
Yeah.
Azteca, Issachar, it's the same thing. So get First Chronicles. Go there. First Chronicles 12. How did they know to get here? Aztec was special, right? First Chronicles 12 and 32. I'm gonna show you something about the tribe of Issachar. Because all the tribes had gifts, but here's Issachar's gift right here. You got that? Read.
It's the book of First Chronicles, chapter 12 and verse 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding.
Right, they had great understanding, right? Let's see what it was.
That had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do.
Right, because when it came time for us to come on this side of the planet, they already knew how to read the stars to navigate to get to this side of the world. How did they know that?
We all had the same knowledge.
We all had the same knowledge because we are all the same people. Because we are the children of Israel. Look, in the world, we think that what? We're different people. Are we?
I don't believe so.
So what is the narrative when we go to jail, right? Oh, you Hispanic, I'm black. We not the same. We enemies. The Bible says what's that, Jeremiah 55?
15:33.
Get that real quick. Because the children of Israel and the children of Judah, which is the blacks and the Hispanics, are the same people. Where do you find us in America? What section of the planet, what section of the ghetto are we in? I just gave it to you. Go ahead and read it. My bad.
Fucked up situation.
Yep. 3 and 33. No, give what they call it.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah.
So that's the northern and southern kingdom. The children of Israel, which is right here, and the children of Judah, which is right here, the so-called blacks and Hispanics, right? Read.
Were oppressed together.
Were what?
Oppressed together.
That's why you always see us where? Where we at right now?
Fucked up in the fucked up.
We're in North Vegas. This is considered what? The ghetto, right? Who do you always find here? Blacks and Hispanics. Always. It's the same. We're the same people. We're not the minority. Because we're the sand of the sea. That doesn't even make sense to say that we're the minority. They do that to belittle us. Alright? I'm gonna bring the brother back up. I just wanted to show you that. Aztec means Issachar. Go ahead.
Go back to 2nd Ezra 13. Let's finish that up. Because there's actually a word in that scripture in 2nd Ezra 13 that says that America, right, is the land that they came to.
Hey, can I go live on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me 2nd Ezra 13 and start at verse 42. No, 41 again.
2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 41.
Read.
But they took this counsel among themselves.
So the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom of Israel, did what? They took counsel among themselves. Read.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country.
The multitude of the heathen is called the old world, right? Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa. That is the old world where the multitude of the heathen was. The other nations. Read.
Where never mankind dwelt. That they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land.
Right. Hey, brother, take a look at this. It says that there, when they get to that land, that they might keep their statutes. Right? The statute's talking about the laws of God. Look at the bottom of that, on that Native American on the bottom right. What's on the bottom of his garment? Number 1538. No, the very bottom, on the right. What's that on the garment on the right one? This one right here? What's that on his garment on the bottom? The bottom, right here. You see that right here? All this right here? That's actually called fringes, right? You see on all these so-called Native Americans, right? Right, they have fringes on the bottom of the garments. The Aztecs did as well, right? Why did they have that on the bottom of the garments? There's actually a statute in the Bible. That's why in 2nd Ezra 13 verse 42 it says that they might there keep their statutes which they didn't keep in the old world. Now read that, Numbers 15:38. We're going to understand why they had fringes on the bottom of the garments. Because they are the children of Israel.
That's right.
Read.
The book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 38. Speak unto the children of Israel.
Now speak unto everybody. Read.
Speak unto the children of Israel.
So this law was only for the children of Israel. So if you see somebody with the border blue and fringes on them, right, in the history, they're a descendant of the children of Israel.
That's right.
That's how we know that the Aztecs are the descendants of the children of Israel, because they kept that. Read.
And bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments.
That's what you see on all those pictures. Fringes in the borders of the garments. That's what we see in our clothes right here. Fringes on the borders of our garments. Read.
Throughout their generations.
So as long as they live, as long as they keep generating, they're going to have fringes in the borders of their garments. Read.
That they put upon a fringe the borders a ribbon of blue.
Now, brother, take a look at that one last time. Now, remember, we said fringes, but also said they're going to have a border of blue on the edge of them. Right? You see the border of blue on the edge of those garments? Right. And on that far left one, too, it says that they're going to have fringes with a border of blue on it. Right? That's how you know that the Aztecs, right, the Mayans, all the Native Americans are actually the children of Israel.
That's right.
The same people. Read, go back to 2nd Ezra 13, verse 40. 43 and a half, please. All right, so now we're still breaking down how the so-called Aztecs, how the so-called Native Americans got to this land. All right? Yeah, 42 now? Read.
2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 42. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
Now the Euphrates River, right? Is that on here as well? Where's the other map at? Oh, right here. Now look, the Euphrates River, right here. It said they entered into the passage of the Euphrates River, right? Read.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For though that country there was a great way to go.
So it's showing you the passage that they took. They entered to the Euphrates River, and that leads into the Indian Ocean, or the Arabian Sea right here, which leads to the Indian Ocean. And that's how they got to America. They sailed into the Indian Ocean, around the Horn of Africa, and came into South America, into Brazil. Read. Is that it on that? Read.
Namely, of a year and a half.
And it takes a year and a half to make that journey. Read.
And the region is called Issachar.
It says what? The region is called what?
The region is called Issachar.
Now let me show you something. All right, I got it. Actually, the definition of Issachar, right, is in the Jewish Encyclopedia, right? Tells you what Issachar is, right? Christopher Columbus actually called America Issachar when he found this land.
That's right.
All right, can you see that and read it? From the top, it says the name. Issachar.
Issachar, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of men, which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to 2nd Ezra 13, verse 45.
That's what you see right there. They're keeping the laws of Moses, keeping the fringes.
Columbus identified America.
He identified what?
He identified America with this land.
He identified America with this land. So that's what Issachar is. Issachar is America. Are they going to teach you that in school? They're going to teach you that you came over on land bridge. That's what the white man's going to teach you. But God said, you guys were great navigators. That's why today they still use your calendars. Right? Because you guys are special people.
That's right.
Give me Deuteronomy 28. So you understand where you come from now. Right? You understand that the Aztecs are actually the children of Israel from the tribe of Issachar.
That's right.
Right? You're not a so-called Mexican. All right? You're not a Hispanic. Hispanic means property of Spain. You're not property of Spain. Right? You're not a spick. Right? You're not a nigga. Right? You're a children of Israel from the tribe of Issachar. You're God's chosen people. Deuteronomy 7:6 verse. You need to understand how special you are. Right? You understand that how special it is to be part of God's chosen people. Now give me Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6. Listen to this.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
It's talking to the children of Israel. It says we're a holy people. The word holy means separate. Means separate from everybody else. Right? This is one set of people that he loves and that's special. Right? Read.
Unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God have chosen thee.
He chose you. He chose you, Danilo. He chose you, Danilo. He chose your people. Read.
To be a special people unto himself, above all people.
No, beneath all people.
Above all people.
No, we were meant to live in Northtown. We were meant to live in the ghettos.
Above all people.
We were meant to be above all people. That's how God created us. Right? That's what we see in sports, athletics, even in the academic world. Black and Hispanics rule. Right? We are the best at everything.
That's
because
right.
It's in our DNA. We have God's DNA in us, brother. Read.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
You understand that? You understand that you are God's chosen people? Now, let me ask you this. Why the Hispanics, right? Why were they conquered?
Because they believed that the white man was God.
That's what the white man told you.
Yeah, they had.
And that's in the Spanish version of history.
Yeah.
But they didn't believe that, right? I'm going to tell you exactly why we were conquered, right? Because, again, the so-called Aztecs, right? They had more of a military than the Spanish, did they not?
So, yeah.
The Spanish only came over with like 160 soldiers, and Aztecs numbered in like the 50,000s. So how did 160 soldiers, right, defeat 50,000 great men?
Well, the Aztecs actually treated them with respect and love, and they finessed them and attacked them, started taking them out after they gained their confidence?
Leviticus 19:17 verse first. Let me show you exactly what happened. Yes, they did greet them, right? But again, they didn't believe that they were God, right? Because the so-called Spaniards, they want you to believe that your people thought they were gods, but they didn't think that. That's why they fought them. If they knew they were gods, they wouldn't have fought them, right? They wouldn't have been the battle of Tenochtitlan, right? They wouldn't have happened if they thought they were gods. This is what happened. Read.
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
So what happened to the Aztec Empire? Was it just the Spaniards that came against them, or was it the other native people around them that helped them defeat the Aztecs?
And there's a female named
Malinche.
Malinche.
Yep.
They nicknamed her Marina as the sea, and gave her as a gift to the Spaniards. And they used her in order to translate, but they turned her against their own people, and that's how they were able to communicate and finesse the situation.
Right, but who else? Right, because remember, they fought against the Aztecs, right? But who else came with the Spaniards to fight against the Aztecs? Do you know?
No.
It was the other native people around them, right? Lex Cala. Have you heard of that? Tex Cala?
I might have heard on it.
Okay, that was another native tribe that was around at the time. They joined with the Spaniards against the Aztecs, splitting the empire of Issachar, the Aztec empire, right? They fought with them because those men couldn't have did it by themselves, right? And that's why, read that again, Leviticus 19:17.
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
We have hatred for each other even to this day, and that's why we went into captivity, right? That's why our empires were destroyed, because we have hatred for each other in our own empires when we were in rulership. That's what caused the destruction. That's what made it so easy for the Spaniards to come in and take over within in like 1 or 2 years.
Because it landed in 1519 and then 1522.
Right, 2-3 years. They were able to conquer an entire empire that's been there for hundreds of years. Why? Because we had hatred for each other, right? Because you don't keep God's commandments. Read.
Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people.
So God has commanded the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to not bear any grudge or hate the children of your people.
That's right.
The Christian church tells us to love everybody else but ourselves. That's why we have the highest murder rates in the communities. Black and Hispanics number the top. That's why we have the highest abortion rates, because we hate ourselves. Read.
Thou shalt not avenge or bear any grudge against the children of thy people.
Now remember, like the Bible said, this happened because we broke God's commandments, Deuteronomy 28 verse 15. Right? That's why the Spaniards were able to come over and conquer us. Right? Read that.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So it says, if you will not listen, because that's what the word hearken means, right? It means to listen to the voice of God. The voice of God, meaning his words, is this Bible. Read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
So if we don't observe, meaning keep the laws and statutes of God's law, right? Meaning what? Leviticus 19:17, don't hate your brother, right? This is what's going to happen to us.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So because we didn't keep God's commandments, we have been cursed, right? The Spaniards came over because we didn't keep God's commandments. God sent them against us, right? Because we don't want to follow his law. Because we forgot that we are the children of Israel. We forgot that we are the sons of God.
That's right.
That's why. Give me verse 49. This explains the whole thing of how the Spaniards came over, how they conquered us, right? This verse right here, verse 49.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth.
Right, from the end of the earth, because you guys, right, so-called Hispanics, Native Americans, were in America, right, the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. They say they would come from afar, from the other side of the earth, right? That's what? Europe. They come from Europe. Read.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
Now I want you to look at this sign, right? Find the Spanish eagle. You see that? Who came and conquered the Aztecs? The Spaniards.
That's right.
What did the Bible say? That they'll be as swift as the eagle flieth. Letting you know what? What is their sign? The eagle. That's on their flag. That's on their coins. That's how you know that the Bible's talking about the Spaniards.
That's right.
Read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Now you seem like a knowledgeable brother. What were the Aztecs speaking? What was their language before the Spaniards got here?
I have a hard time pronouncing it.
Nawatli, so with the N.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the language they were speaking, right? Which is actually a version of Hebrew. It's actually a dialect of Hebrew, right? But what does the Bible say? Read that again.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So that nation that was going to come against you would have the symbol of an eagle, right? Which we just showed with the Spaniards. Read that again so we get my thought.
And a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce continents.
So that nation, right, would have a tongue that we would not understand, right? And you said you spoke Nahuatl in Mexico, right? Aztecs, right? They didn't speak Spanish. What, verse 50, read.
A nation of fierce countenance.
The so-called white man, right, the so-called Spanish man is a nation of fierce countenance. Read.
Which shall not regard the person of old, or show favor to the young.
It says they're not going to regard the person of the young nor show favor to the old. Meaning they would kill anybody. They would put anybody in slavery. And what's that? The book, Origins of the American Indians. It says that the Spaniards would cut open the pregnant Mexican women and cut open their babies while they raped them. Right? What kind of people is that? It's a nation of fierce countenance. Man, read that again.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance shall not regard the person of the old, or show favor to the young.
They cut off children. They cut off little Israelite children, Mexican children. They cut off their hands when they didn't get enough cotton or tobacco, because you guys were enslaved too, right? They did that to us, and we want to call them our friends today. Read that again.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, or show favor to the young.
For verse 50, yes. Now give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1. Now this is the flip side of that. All right, now we understand why the Spaniards came over, why the U.S. Or the Pilgrims came over, right, and the U.S. cavalry came and destroyed the Native Americans, all because we didn't want to keep God's commandments. All right, but what does God say, right, if we, what happens to us if we do keep his commandments? What do you think that is?
I don't know.
If we keep God's commandments, if the breaking of God's commandments is curses, what's the opposite of that?
Everlasting life and heaven.
Everlasting life, and what else? If being under curse means slavery, right? And so doing the opposite of that is what? Freedom or rulership, ruling over the entire planet. That's what we created to be. Read that, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1.
So this is the flip side if we keep God's commandments. Read.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently.
So if we do listen to God's commandments, read.
Hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations.
So if we keep God's commandments, right, Most High is going to set us above all nations on this earth. What we created to be in the first place, right? Read that bottom part again.
Will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
That's why I read in Deuteronomy 7 and 6, where we said we were created to be above all people, right? Now, do you have any questions, brother, before I continue?
Nah, but I'm interested in continue. You guys got a church or location?
Yeah, it's on the back of the flyer.
Yeah, I'm about to go get my hair cut. I'll tell you what. When do you guys hold service?
We hold 2, 1:30.
As long as you guys read out the Bible, because I usually have a hard time picking up the Bible and continue just because. But this is very interesting how you guys put history.
You know why you had a hard time?
Into,
because you didn't understand that this is talking about your people.
Yeah, I have never met anybody that actually took this and really broke down the Bible. You know what I'm saying? They give us another version of it.
Right, because again, we were taught the Bible by our so-called slave masters.
That's right.
Right, who came over with the Spaniards? The Jesuit priests. Right, the conquistadors brought Catholicism. Right, which is what Hispanics are into a lot. Give me to our Deuteronomy 20:64 actually. Right, there's actually a curse in the Bible. Right, that we be taught by our enemies. Right, the God's word, but it's not, because again, it's a demonic version of it. Right, because they're not teaching you who you are, not teaching you to keep God's commandments. Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64.
Now this is another curse for breaking God's law. Read.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
It says scatter you among all people, meaning scattered by way of slave ships. For example, the so-called Aztecs, they were brought to Barcelona, Spain, Seville, Spain. They were brought to England. They were also brought to all the Jamaican and Cayman Islands. They served in slavery there, taken over by slave ships, right? So you were scattered all over the world as well as blacks. Read.
From one end of the earth even to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Says we're going to serve other gods. And what is that other god? Look right there. Look right there. That's the other god, the so-called white man. White Jesus. Right? That's what we would serve. Right? It says that we would serve other gods, wood and stone. And what is the wood that it's talking about? It's talking about Christianity, that wooden cross. Right? The murder weapon that was used to kill Christ. Right? It says that we would serve that because that's what the Jesuit priests came over and brought to your people. Right? That's what the conquistadors and that's what the pilgrims brought to my people. All right? You understand that, brother? So
we used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.